Hi, and welcome to the 44th edition of Buzz Boxing Predictions. Uh, let's go straight to our first fight of this weekend. It's actually tonight. uh, it's a flyweight, IBF International flyweight title fight between Moruti Mutalane and Ardin Diale. It's Mutalane, of course, is fighting at home in South Africa against the Filipino Diale, who is a sort of, he's a fringe contender, perhaps the best name for him. Yes, Mutalane, he has recently stopped Isaac Quay in 2 rounds, and before that, Genesis Libranza, also a Filipino, I believe, in 4 rounds. Yeah, and so he has found, it seems, his power again after winning his first couple of comeback fights on points. Yeah, so my prediction is that he will stop Diala in about, well, six or 7 rounds, most likely. With Diala, he's not really a big puncher, and he has been stopped in 5 rounds. While Moruti is, of course, a big puncher and also a good boxer. So, yeah, I am just looking. Juan Francisco Estrada knocked out Diala in 2 rounds in 2012. Yeah, so I think it will last maybe 7, let's say 7 rounds, okay. Yeah, and then we shall go over to a German card that's also taking place tonight. And it's a fight between Jürgen Bremer and Rob Brandt. It's actually the quarterfinals of the Super Series. Yes, super middleweight. It's actually, I was surprised that Bremer chose to compete at super middleweight because he hasn't fought at that weight for really long. He's been a light heavyweight for, well, at least 10 years or more, perhaps. And yeah, he's kind of, he's 39, so he's at the end of his career, while Rob Brandt is 27. Of course, he has that advantage, but he is actually a former middleweight. So, but they are about equal in height, so nobody has the edge in height and the reach. Well, Bremer has a slightly bigger reach, actually, just slightly. Yes, this is an interesting fight, really. Rob Brandt is a puncher, it seems, but he hasn't really faced anyone that's really, elite level yet. Yeah, so this can go two ways. Either that Bremer wins by a decision. I can see him outworking and outboxing Brandt enough to get some kind of decision at home. But also I can see Brandt stopping Bremer if he manages to catch him. He can stop him, I believe, yes. So he's the younger guy who is perhaps more, yeah, definitely more comfortable fighting at this weight than Bremer. So This is a rather open fight, so I would perhaps actually I favor Brand to win by a stoppage. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah, there are no interesting fights, no other on this card, so we can move on. And then the big card of this weekend is in Cardiff, Wales, the Principality Stadium. We have the fights, almost all the best fights for this weekend. First one I can say something about is Khalid Yafai versus Sho Ishida. It's the WBA super flyweight title fight. And Khalid Yafai is the champion. Yes, this is his second defense. Yafai, both guys are undefeated. Yafai is 22-0 with 14 knockouts, and Ishida is 24-0 with 13 knockouts. So maybe Yafai has the slight edge in power, perhaps. I mean, I can say by Ishida's record judging, he hasn't really fought anyone yet, so this is gonna be a big test for him. While Yafai beat Luis Concepcion last year, and yeah, Suguru Muranaka. So I guess, is accustomed. He has fought the Japanese already, so he knows what he can expect pretty much. So I'd say I expect this to go the distance as well, like the two fights of Yafai, but Yafai will definitely win, I think. Unanimous decision. Then there's a slightly interesting light heavyweight title fight. No, I mean British light heavyweight between Frank Buglioni and Craig Richards. Richards is undefeated, but I don't know really anything about him. And Buglioni, yeah, he's rebounded quite well, after losing to Chudinov, and he's now light heavyweight. He was a super middleweight before. Yeah, like, since he is the only one of these two that we know something about, and he's not bad at all, and one must, bet on him. And but how will he win? Well, that's pretty hard to decide or predict. He has a few late round stoppages, like against Hosea Burton, who was undefeated. And yeah, Craig Richards, he's not that big puncher. He has fought the best guy that he beat, Alan Higgins, was undefeated. He beat him by a close decision. So I guess this is a rather I mean, Buglioni is a favorite here for sure, and it's a little, difficult to predict this because I don't know really nothing about Craig Richards. So I'll just say Buglioni wins either by decision or stoppage. So And then there is the silver WBC heavyweight title fight. It's between Dillian White and Robert Helenius. Well, this is quite interesting because both guys, were used to be undefeated and big prospects and all that. But then they both experienced a devastating defeat by knockout, and around at about the same time, also 4 months apart. Dillian White, he was of course knocked out by Anthony Joshua and in 7 rounds, and Helenius by Johan Duhaupa in six. The thing with Helenius, he early on he really looked promising. He knocked out Samuel Peter and Gregory Tony, who was then undefeated, and Layman Brewster and all that. But then he started, against Chisora, he was really, lethargic, and after that, he didn't really have any impressive victories, except if you can call knocking out Konstantin Eirich in 1 round impressive. But I'd bet on White here, even though he is the shorter man by almost 3 inches and has a slightly smaller reach. And Helenius is 33, and White is 29. So Helenius, I'd say, has seen his best days already. Yeah. So he cannot get any better than he was back in 2008, 2009, when he was at his best, knocking everybody out. So, I think it will be a good fight, most likely, but of course there will be quite a few clinches for sure. And since Helenius is so tall and big, he can just, it's a little bit hard for him not to hold that much, because sometimes that's the only way he can stop a fighter from hitting him, since he's so slow. He's a rather easy target, for people tall enough to reach him, as like White is, for instance. So, oh, sorry. I don't know if White can knock out Helenius, he didn't look that good against Chisora. I mean, I thought even Chisora perhaps deserved to win that fight, but anyway, I guess White will be able to outwork Helenius here. So he will also win on points, I think, most likely. Unless he somehow manages to, catch Helenius and bombard him long enough to force a stoppage. That can happen, but I wouldn't bet on it. So yeah, White to win anyway on points. And then the big fight, Anthony Joshua versus Carlos Takam. It's a little bit, it's a shame because Joshua was originally gonna fight Pulev, but Pulev pulled out. And Takam is not, of course, not a bad fighter, but by any means, but he's already, getting on in age, and he lost to Joseph Parker in 2016, and since that he's beaten a couple of, average fighters by knockout. But he's very strong, of course. He was only knocked out by Povetkin, and who has since been, discovered to be be on the juice. I don't know if he was in that fight, but anyway. So this will not be an easy fight, I think, for Joshua. But I think it's safe to expect another knockout. And Takam, he's not a boxer really, and you'd have to be a really good boxer, defensive fighter to not get knocked out by Joshua. So, or someone that really is good offensively. So I guess Joshua is favored to win by a stoppage or knockout. Somewhere perhaps in the eighth round, something like that. So yeah, I think that was it. There are not. I couldn't find any other good fights worth talking about. So yeah, I guess we better wrap it up. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.